It's midnight in the forest. A mouse moves through dry leaves below, and somewhere above, 80 feet up, something is already falling toward it. No flap, no rustle, no warning at all. By the time it's over, the mouse never knew it was being hunted. What kind of animal can move through the air without making a single sound? Before we go further, what's your guess? Comment what you think makes this possible. Feathers, flight muscles, or something else entirely. Most birds can't hide the sound of flight. Pigeons clap the air. Geese whistle with every wing beat. Even small songbirds make a faint whoosh you can hear if you're close enough. Flight by nature is loud. Air has to be pushed, displaced, and disturbed for a wing to generate lift. So how does an owl break that rule entirely? For decades, scientists couldn't fully explain it. They just knew owls were close to silent, almost 9 decibels quieter than other birds of similar size. That's not a small difference. That's the gap between a whisper and a normal conversation. Quick question for the comments. Which sounds more impressive to you? An animal that's completely silent, or one that's impossibly fast? Silent hunter versus speed hunter. Which wins in your book? The secret isn't in the owl's muscles. It's in the architecture of a single feather. Look closely enough, and you'll find 3 things no other bird has combined in quite the same way. First, a comb-like fringe along the leading edge of each flight feather. Thousands of tiny stiff serrations that break up turbulent air before it can build into noise. Second, a soft frayed trailing edge, almost like the end of a worn ribbon, that lets air slip off the wings smoothly instead of snapping off in a noisy burst. And third, the part most people never notice, a velvety, almost fur-like texture across the entire surface of the feather. Under a microscope, it looks less like a bird's wing and more like the inside of a quiet room, built to absorb sound rather than reflect it. Together, these 3 features do something remarkable. They don't just reduce noise. They break sound down into frequencies too high for most prey to hear at all. Here's something worth debating. Is this the most perfectly engineered adaptation in the animal kingdom, or do you think another animal beats it? Drop your nominee in the comments. We might cover it next. This design didn't stay in nature for long. Engineers studying noise reduction in machinery eventually turned to the owl wing as a blueprint. Wind turbine blades have been redesigned with serrated edges inspired directly by owl feathers, cutting down the noise complaints that come from turbines near residential areas. Aircraft engineers have studied the same structure to quiet jet engine fan blades. Even some high-speed train pantographs, the parts that touch overhead power lines, borrow this exact comb-edge concept to reduce wind noise at speed. Nature solved a problem with feathers millions of years before we solved it with metal and steel, and we're still catching up. Have you ever lived near a wind farm or worked around aircraft or trains? Comment below if you've noticed real-world noise engineering like this in action. We'd love to hear it from people who've actually experienced it. But silence alone wouldn't be enough without one more advantage: hearing. An owl's ears aren't lined up evenly like ours. One sits slightly higher than the other on the skull, an asymmetry that lets the brain triangulate a sound's exact position in both height and direction, almost like a built-in 3D sound map. Combine that with a face shaped like a satellite dish, funneling every rustle straight to the ears, and you get a hunter that can locate prey it cannot even see, entirely by sound in pitch darkness, while making none of its own. It's not just a quiet hunter. It's a precision instrument that happens to be covered in feathers. We focused on the barn owl for this one, since it's the most studied. But there are over 200 owl species, and not all of them hunt the same way. If you know an owl species with a hunting style we should cover, tell us in the comments. There's something humbling about an animal that perfected stealth not through speed or strength, but through the texture of its feathers. No weapons, no noise, just absolute, deliberate quiet. refined over millions of years until it became one of the most efficient hunting tools in the natural world. Somewhere out there tonight, an owl is gliding through the dark exactly the way it has for millions of years, and the world below it will never hear it coming. Maybe the most dangerous things in nature aren't the loudest, maybe they're the quietest. So here's the question we'll leave you with. In nature, and maybe even in life, is silence actually the bigger advantage over noise and speed? Tell us where you land in the comments. And if you're one of our quiet observers who's been with this channel since the beginning, say hi below. We read every single comment. If this kind of hidden engineering in nature fascinates you, subscribe. There's a lot more out there that most people never notice. See you in the next one.